All right, so we're back on the Great Ravino. I'm here with Jack Lieb. In full disclosure, Jack is a congregant, as is his brother Brandon, college basketball player. So Jack is on the other side now as a graduate assistant at Vanderbilt on the basketball team. Jack, how you doing this evening?
Good. Appreciate you having me on, Jeremy. And yeah, no, that's a good introduction. Looking forward to this interview.
Awesome. So Jack grew up in the same area I did, Deerfield, Illinois, where now a rabbi. But Jack, tell us about, I know that you had some injuries throughout your high school career, but you still went on to play in college. What is it like dealing with these major injuries as a high school player before you go on to play in college?
Yeah, I think honestly, the biggest takeaway that I kind of had from all of it is it's really a sense of adversity. And a lot of athletes and a lot of young kids deal with some sort of injury, I would say, earlier on in life. But no matter what it is, I think experiencing adversity at a young age is really something that's a positive. I think you can kind of look back on it and it really prepares you for the real world. Something's always going to happen. Something's going to happen, whether it's a mistake, whether it's something that's unforeseen, something that's going to shake you up in the middle of your day, work week, whatever it may be. And I think athletes really, truly get to experience that early on. And hopefully most don't experience it to the extent where injuries really end up hurting them in the long run. But I do think it's really a test to their mental character and makeup and their perseverance and patience and dedication to something that they want to work really hard towards. And so that's why I kind of see, like, when athletes are really done playing, you tend to see that they do really well in the workforce because they're hard workers, they're determined, and they faced adverse situations early on.
Yeah, that's great. And there's always at some level, we see it really hard when you see like great athletes like a Derrick Rose go down, who, clearly would had a Hall of Fame career, no doubt about it. And,
Yep.
just a great career, still ended up, no one's persevered more probably in sports.
Side note, Derrick Rose, my favorite player of all time.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
I
I
grew up
grew up with
watching every
Jordan.
single game. So, but yeah, no, Derrick Rose is a perfect example of somebody who's overcame. I mean, obviously, to the public eye, everyone knows who he is and knows his story, and it's remarkable to see what he's done. But he's a guy that really had the odds stacked against him and the constant injuries and the potential career that he could have had. People don't really, they underestimate the career that he actually has had. He's remarkable, the fact he's played this long at this high level and on a team that's doing really well, and a Chicago guy. So maybe it's just Chicago. There's a little bit of bias. If you grow up in Chicago, maybe you just learn some things the hard way. Who knows?
I agree with that. Chicago, that's what we love from our players. That's why we love, like, this White Sox team just digged hard. And that's what people love about them. They love
Cubs for me. So no.
But even the grit is what they love about Chicago athletes. They love Walter Payton, just went to work, and he wasn't the flashiest player of all time, but he just pounded Dick Butkus and those kinds of guys. So let's move from high school to college. You played at Lehigh. What was that experience like? Was college basketball always on the radar? In full disclosure, the Lieb family is the only family I can say with confidence as a rabbi that has ever been taller unilaterally than myself as a rabbi. So knowing that you have the height to play, the build to play, the skill to play, was that always on your radar, and why Lehigh?
Yeah, I mean, since a young age, I always wanted to play and knew that. I mean, I kind of grew up playing. My dad played. Family was all around it. Friends, we all used to play. Obviously, the area, but yeah, it was a passion of mine, and eventually, kind of leading into high school, then getting towards deciding when I went to Lehigh. The biggest decision for me was a combination of somewhere where I was comfortable, had a fit, and knew where I had the opportunity to play and have a career that kind of met what I desired from a college experience, and then also the combination of academics and overall kind of like a family feel. And you start to kind of realize that as you got to go through college, and now being a coach, and I'm seeing like how recruiting works and what these kids are looking for, and really what is most important to the families and the whole decision process. Yeah, it really stands out. And it's a big decision. And I've always said this to anyone who's ever asked. I've kind of had this mindset from the beginning of the whole process that it's not just a 4-year decision, it's a 40-year decision. And I think my dad once told me, he said that if you're going to college and wherever you go, you're just buying a network. Like no matter where you go, it depends. It just matters what you do when you're there. So that's kind of the process I had as far as picking Lehigh. But yeah, growing up, I mean, my brothers and I, we always used to play. So basketball's definitely been a passion for our family.
So then you decided to continue it as a career. You're at Vanderbilt. Tell us what a graduate assistant does. You're at a big school, a big program. What are sort of your day-to-day responsibilities as a graduate assistant on the team?
So as a graduate assistant, you're kind of like a jack of all trades, and there's a lot of different things that kind of come at you. And I think the biggest thing that I would say is the role of a graduate assistant is to meet the team's needs, whatever that may be. And it's an entry level position, but you really get to learn and kind of see certain things, and it's a really cool experience because we get to be on the court with the players because we're actually students in school still as graduate students. We're allowed to be on the court, whereas the only other people on staff who are allowed on the court are the 3 assistants and the head coach. So support staff, all of them, they can't actually technically be on the court in workouts and all the drills. So you get to really have a cool experience with them and the players, and you get to really be hands-on, and then just helping support all the different departments and coaches who really run this entire program, and anything that they need. Hopefully we're there for them, and that's whether it be logistics and operations and planning, or helping with recruiting, or helping with video. Graphic design is an area that's kind of, you see growing up in this day and age, specifically at the high major level. A lot of these schools are utilizing video and graphics for recruiting pitches. So you kind of do a bunch of different areas. You're learning kind of what it is to be a coach, and especially at this high of a level. But yeah, I would say the main role is you're bouncing around. But there's a lot of different ways that they can use you. And overall, my experience has been great so far. Love being down here at Vanderbilt. Unbelievable program, unbelievable coach and Coach Stackhouse, and all the rest of the people that are on staff here, players, and I think we got a really good team. So I'm excited. Our first game is Wednesday. We play Alabama State at home. So looking forward to this season, and I definitely am grateful and glad that I decided to pursue the dream, potentially be coach, and eventually when I got here, I knew that that's exactly what I wanted to do. So for being a graduate assistant, anyone who wants to kind of go in that profession, I would recommend to anybody for sure.
Yeah, so you open the door at Jerry Stackhouse over at Vanderbilt. Does this team a tournament team? Are we all in on Vanderbilt as a competitor in the conference, and a team that can make a run?
We've done well, and I think we're looking pretty good. And so I think the biggest thing is just kind of coming together, going game by game. And I really do think that this team has some heads that we're going to turn. That's really the most I can say in it, because I do think that as the season goes on, you'll start to see. But no, we're good, and I'm looking forward to the season for sure.
Yeah, it's got to help to recruit with the name Jerry Stackhouse across any banner. So I want to talk about, and I haven't talked about this at all in any of the interviews, is really getting into the transfer portal, which came abruptly. I think, I think people watch these players just, you never know what's going to happen now. And it's sort of like, college teams used to have to compete with the draft. Let's just take Illinois, where I went to school and where your brother is. You knew AO was probably going. You knew Kofi was going to maybe go, though he came back. And then people were like, well, he may not go to the NBA, but he may go into the draft, the portal. And you're like, wait a minute, we could lose him, but not to the league. So how does that change sort of the recruiting process, the coaching process, where you literally could have a guy for 1 year, and not because he's NBA ready, because he just wants to make a change, and not because the coaches changed, but just he wanted to change.
Yeah, I think the transfer portal is something that obviously you look at the facts, you look at the data. exponentially growing year after year. More and more people put their names in. And I think these next kind of couple of years is going to be really where you really see some crazy things happening where guys are still 25, 26, still playing in college because maybe they redshirted a year, maybe they gray shirted, maybe they had COVID and they're using that extra year of eligibility. The sit one, not one. There's all these different rules, exceptions, appeals, and different scenarios that play out. So the transfer portal, I think, I'm glad that the NCAA is allowing players to not have to suffer for wanting to go elsewhere. But I also think when a player commits to a school, like if you're loyal and that's the situation you want to go to, that should probably be the focus of your situation. I truthfully don't think anyone has the intention to go to a school and then want to leave right after 1 year before they even get there. But with coaches who, if a coach gets fired, decides to leave or whatnot, that's a very valid reason for a player if he decides to leave. But at the same time, I think the transfer portal is definitely utilized. You see a lot of teams utilizing this offseason. Technically, I think if you look at the statistics, there's around 2.5 to 3.5 players per team per year that either leave because of a transfer or other reasons in the NCAA over the last couple of years. So the portal is growing and it really allows it's like a whole different game to recruiting as far as what I've been able to kind of learn and see from being here so far and kind of gauge and weighing on some of the experiences that some of these coaches who've been really successful in the game and long time in this game who are on our staff that really have kind of taught and guided myself and others being GAs, kind of what it's been like and kind of what to expect moving forward.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a coach out there too who really sort of figure out the portal and make it their baby. You know, Calipari for a long time was the one and done. You know, he could produce teams a year after year by just saying, okay, you're going to play for 1 year and then you're going to go to the NBA. We're going to have a few guys who sort of anchor. I remember when I was in college, and I remember there was so much buzz at Illinois because we were coming off Frank Williams, who's NBA ready, and then you had D Brown, Darren Williams, Luther Head. You had that team, and then you have Bill Self, who then was going to follow with Charlie Villanueva and Julian Wright and all these guys. And then Self leaves and the whole sort of team disbands after obviously their great run. So I think there'll be a coach or two who sort of figured this out and make that portal their baby and understand it better than anyone else. Jack, I want to thank you for your time. It was great having you and hope to see you soon. And good luck Wednesday. Let's get a W.
Appreciate it, Rabbi. Thank you, and talk again soon. Thanks.
All right, sounds good.